Hello, everyone. I'm Nick, aka Voice Across, and today I'm here with my good friend Lonnie Marts the third. Yo, what's up,
How
buddy?
you
How are
doing?
you? Good
Thank you so much
morning.
for having me. It is early morning.
No, dude. No, dude. It's my absolute pleasure. You look great. You look refreshed. So you were telling me you like to have this morning routine. Tell me what did you do this morning, man? You
I
look
look
refreshed.
refreshed. I'm wiping the sweat off of my face because I got my workout in already. I tried to wake up early. I'm the type of person that's to set like 3 alarms back to back to back in order to wake up on time. Got to get up after the third one. I usually wake up. So I got rolled out of bed and went and sprinted in a parking lot near my house. Get my workout in for the day. Then did some core stuff and now I took a shower, but as you can see, I'm still glistening. So we're having a great time.
Yeah, the glisten's what's giving you that extra shine this morning. You look great. Thanks, for stopping by. So, Lonnie, you and I go way, way back. I've known you back since, I would want to say, a little bit of early 2017. And the interesting fact is that when you and I first met, you were actually one of the first clients I ever had. And ever since that day, we've been friends, and that was right in the beginning of your entire voiceover career. Can you tell us a little bit about that awesome interaction we had when we first met?
Yeah. So the first voiceover job I had was on a platform called Fiverr, and I was still figuring out the platform, figuring out how to work it. I was like, oh my gosh, I love voice acting. I want to be a voice actor. I want to be in anime. I want to be on TV. All this other fun stuff. I'm like, what better place to start than Fiverr?
And then I finally get somebody to reach out to me. It was Nick, and he's like, "Hey, can you do like a New Orleans kind of accent?" And I'm like, "Well, both my parents are from New Orleans, even though I mean, I've heard it all my life, but I've never really tried it. But you always say yes. If someone who's casting says, "Can you do this?" You say yes, and then you just kind of go and figure it out along the way. And so we did, and it was a good time. And so I'm super grateful to Nick for kind of helping me out with one of my very first voice acting gigs, honestly.
Yeah, and it's so awesome to see because when you were doing it, I remember it was for a project for those who are on Instagram who are listening. It was for a project called Darcy and the Multi-Spectrum Adventure. You had the role that I gave him was a character named Prince, and he had to be this particular character that was really cartoony, very like. Can you still do the voice by chance? And I was like, oh my gosh, like this real out there type of crazy cartoony bird.
I don't know. It was something like
I'm just thinking
this.
about it.
It was weird. Like I don't know. It wasn't even. It
Yeah, that
turned
was
out to not even be
it.
very like. It wasn't even very like New Orleans sounding. It was just like, well, this bird sounds like he's from somewhere where there are deltas, so that'll be okay. And that's what we went with.
And then ever since that very moment, you and I have stayed connected, and it's crazy to see how much you've grown over the last 3 years that I've known you.
Three
Just
years.
starting
Woof.
off for
Yeah.
I gotta say, I've got to say, it's you just really blown up. You gotten 2 million followers on TikTok and so much more. All these great sponsors. And you know what? Seeing your journey from the very beginning and to see where you are now has been an incredible experience. But before we hop into this present change that you have today and that you're just exploding on the internet, let's get to know you a little bit better. So let's get to know your history of starting your voice acting. So what would you say is one of the biggest inspirations you had before you started hopping into that voiceover train?
Woof. So before I got into the voiceover stuff, I remember distinctly. I was like probably like 10 years old or something like that. I was sitting down watching like What's New Scooby Doo and like Shaggy and Scooby and all of them running around. And there was a moment where I was watching Shaggy talk to Scooby and hearing like the laugh track. And then I'm like, wait a minute, these people aren't real. They're all drawn. Shaggy doesn't actually have a voice. Some human is giving Shaggy his voice. Who's that guy? What is even like? Where is he at? Is he at home on his sofa, like doing this, or what's he doing? I'm like, I want to be that guy. I can do that probably. And I just spent a lot of time watching Cartoon Network, watching like Dragon Ball Z, Toonami, so much anime, and I'm like, I would love to be a part of these stories. Like, I'd love to be able to give these characters a voice in these stories, to be able to help these stories happen, to be able to like provide the emotion and the context and help people like feel things through these characters. Like, not so much on Scooby Doo. They don't. I mean, it's not really an emotional show, but you know how it is on like a lot of animes. I watch plenty of anime. Like that's something that always happens, and it's like, oh, I either feel really connected thanks to this dub, or I feel like this is the weirdest fan thing I've ever seen in my life. So that's really what got me inspired to give voice acting a try. And so then that's funny because that kind of led into me starting to practice, me joining Fiverr where I met you. And then like as a time like Vine was around and I was enjoying Vine a lot. And I'm like, oh man, I really wish I could be on Vine, but I don't really know what I'd even do. Then Vine shut down. And so then TikTok came around and I'm like, all right, well, either I'm gonna miss this wave or I'm gonna learn how to surf. And so I hopped on TikTok and started learning. I'm like, okay, what can I do? I'm like, I have my voice. I'm kind of funny. And so lo and behold, the thing that gets me popping off on TikTok is my God and Gabriel voice, which is just a bad Morgan Freeman impression. So that's kind of like what led me to where I am now. There's a lot of other things that go on behind the scenes, like the routines, the structure, the work ethic, the plans, and all that fun stuff. But on a grand scale, that's what it's looked like at a like high level view, you know?
That's incredible to see that. It took Scooby-Doo, that What's New Scooby-Doo that you watched as a kid. But the question goes into a little bit further. Were you one of those kids that used to think the TV was behind, that like the voices was behind the TV and used to look behind the TV kind of like, yo, where's the voices at? Were you one of those kids?
You know, it might have happened once or twice, and maybe that's what led to the realization that there's no one actually inside of my TV. So they've got to be coming from somewhere. I slowly put it together. We didn't really have Google like that when I was little, so it was like I got to figure this out somehow. And luckily, with my lightning fast brain, I'm like, I don't think anyone's in my TV. They got to be somewhere else. I got to go find them, or at least figure out what they do and how they do it. So that's whenever I realized they were voice actors.
So let's take it back even a little bit step further. So we now see a little bit of your origins of what inspired you to get into that voice acting. But we're going to talk about something that interesting that also happened in 2017 when you first joined me for my studio convention. And that was at Anime EY. That was going to be exactly in Fort Lauderdale. I remember you quoting it specifically just as is, a convention is like a giant Halloween party that everybody dresses up and has a really good time. So what was your experience doing conventions in the very beginning, because it was so fresh for you?
So, wow. Hey there, Instagram again. How you guys doing? I'm here with Voice Across. Just we're doing a little interview talking about how I got started with voice acting, where I'm at now. And Nick, that's a great question in terms of in terms of what was my first convention like. That was weird. It was very odd for me because I had never been to a convention before. So I'm sitting here like, okay, bunch of like hardcore anime nerds are gonna be dressing up and like acting like they're these characters. Like, I'm not a kid. This is like super dorky. I'm just gonna play it cool. Yeah, like 15 minutes after I got there, I'm like, I'm a fool for not dressing up. I could have been so many different characters and I spoiled my chance. Like it turned out to be the coolest thing ever. Like, it was a bunch of people just like chill, and like the intricacy and the ingenuity people put into their outfits and their costumes was like really, really, really cool. And like the cool part also was that most people were super chill with like whatever, like you could be like dressed to the nines, or you could just have like some ears on or something like that, or like a suit on. And they're like, who are you? I'm like, I don't know, man. And they're like, nice, very clever, very nice. I like it. Good costume. And I was like, thank you, friend. But it does feel like Halloween, and there's a ton of stuff to do. Like, just get your best costume together, and everybody like loves it. Like, no matter what you have, everybody's just like, that's pretty cool. Good job. Good effort. And it's just like, okay, this is just fun. I can come here, be a goofball, and just be like, yeah, and you find other people who are into the really niche stuff you're into as well. So it was a pretty fun experience and a really, really good time. You meet a lot of fun people.
And it's so cool because I remember exactly that day when we first started talking to you, and during the panel, we were just getting to know each other's voices, even for me, since I was just starting out of voice acting myself, just trying to figuring out how to do a panel and how to do a convention. We were kind of bouncing a little bit all over the place. But you said something very interesting that still held to me very dear to this very day. You said that, and you even said earlier that you said that voice acting can really impact people if you really give it a chance to other people, and it can give yourself a voice. And for those who are watching on Instagram or later on YouTube, voice acting itself is such a beautiful art form that a lot of people tend to overlook and think it's just a person just talking to a microphone. But there's so much more that goes behind the scenes, and it's great to see that you yourself have been an advocate of it, how you've inspired a lot of people through your comedy and through your voice acting. Do you have a story that you can share with us that you can say that you've heard from a fan that's really touched you about doing your voice acting or through your comedy?
Oh, yeah. It's really cool. Like, there are a number of DMs I get on the daily of people just saying, yo, thank you. Your content, like... Sometimes it's comments, sometimes it's DMs, but people will message me saying, yo, your content helped cure my depression for the day, or like, your content has like really inspired me, or thank you, you get this all the time, but like your content just makes me laugh. And in my head, at first when this was all happening, I'm like, yeah, it makes you laugh. I make myself laugh. Like that's what I do. Like I'm an idiot. So I just make myself laugh all the time. That's just what we do. But hearing everybody like write in and like leave comments like, yo, this really made a difference. I'm like, okay, so maybe there's something here. And what I started to realize as I talked to more and more of you guys here on Instagram all over the place, like I started to realize that there is like not everybody gets to have the same situations I get to have. Like my life isn't everybody else's. A lot of people live in really rough places 24/7. A lot of people do not have like their family around them all the time to like be some extra inspiration for the crazy stuff I put in my videos. Some people live by themselves, haven't seen their family, haven't talked to their parents, don't want to talk to their parents, don't want to talk to their siblings, don't have a strong circle of friends. And I've been super fortunate to live in that space. And so that's just what comes out of my videos. And that's what I love giving to people. But I've just been realizing more and more like the rest of the world does not look like that, you know? And so a lot of times I have people message me, ping me, whatever the case, and just like saying, yo, thank you so much. Like, you've helped me get through a really tough time. You've helped me get through quarantine. And I usually think they're joking, but then I start to realize like, no, this is serious. Like this could really be helping people like move and navigate through very difficult places, you know? So it happens a lot.
Yeah, and it's incredible. Yeah, it's incredible to see that positivity that you're giving into the community, and it's still crazy to see that it still stands at 2017. That you still have those core values, that belief system that really impacts a lot of people.
Yeah.
And I'm sure the people, even the people that are watching here on Instagram, really can agree with us that you're one of the funny guys. You've always been a pure heart. Every time I have you come over for conventions or you come over to my place a couple years ago or a year or. Yeah, 2 years ago was the last time I've seen you. You've always had that beautiful spirit, that positivity, and you always share with everybody. So moving a little bit forward, just recently you were just out on a big cross country kind of trip. You met some fellow TikTokers during this trip. So what are some of those highlights from that trip? We want to know.
Woof! So the big cross country road trip. Also, I see Jada Weeb is asking some question about voice acting, so we'll get to you in a second, Jay. But the cross country road trip. So that was basically my friend from here. I live in Florida. My friend from Florida was moving out to Colorado to go to school there, and he was driving, and he's like, I don't want to drive by myself. It's like 36 hours, and I'm like, I'm not really doing anything this week. I'll go with you. And so he's like, all right, let's do it. So I hopped in the car, and I'm like, all right, let's go. And so then we decided we were driving, we were going. So and that was the first part. And then after I got to Colorado, I'm like, Los Angeles is like a 2-hour plane ride away. It's like $24 to go there. And there were a bunch of people from TikTok who were like, yo, if you're ever in the LA area, hit me up, say hey. So I'm like, all right, let's put it to the test. Let's see if these people were being serious or if they were just saying like, just all talk, not going to back it up. So after I like checked everything, I'm like, okay, y'all been quarantining. Like, what's the deal? Have y'all been having parties? Because people having parties. I'm like, nah, that's not the move, not the vibe. But I checked in with people who were like quarantining and stuff like that. Made some arrangements, stayed with them, visited them, and it was a really, really cool time. I learned a lot about Los Angeles. I decided that that's probably where I want to go for like 2 years or so. Spend some time working and networking and growing and learning. Treat it kind of like a college degree program. I have to say some of the nicest people I got to stay with were Preston Garcia, Aaron Doe. Preston, you'll see him in some of my videos. Aaron Doe used to be on Vine. There's Nick Uhas, who is actually, he like helped David Dobrik with the elephant toothpaste science experiment. I got to stay with him. Caleb Seaton, he's a hilarious dude on TikTok as well. John Moss, I hung out with him as well. Just a funny dude, but I got to meet so many cool people and make some cool friendships. So I'm excited to go back out there, and the content, I promise you, will be fire before and especially during my time when I get back out there. So it's going to be a very good time.
Yeah, and you got to do this really, really awesome cross country and adventure. And we got to see a lot of those highlights through your Instagram, through TikTok, and I have to give credit for a person who's ever popped a tire during a road trip. You keep so calm, it's great. Or anything where you have a car malfunction, it's never that easy to keep as calm as Lonnie does and keep the comedy going. And I think that's one of the great things about Lonnie. You just have that aura. You're like, it's all right, guys. We're gonna figure it out sometime.
I just like in life, I'm just like, you know what? There's some things that are worth stressing about. Some things you just gotta figure out. And I'm like, my attitude on most things is like, yo, I value my peace and sanity above like everything. I'm like, if I die and I can die in peace, I'm cool. So every day I'm like, you know what? Is this taking my peace? I might need to toss it. Either I toss it or I learn how to deal with it, because I'm like, I'm not going to sacrifice my peace and sanity for like anything, which can get tough sometimes. But I'm like, that's what I'm keeping at like 100% all the time. My joy, my peace, like I'm not letting go of those things. So like anything that comes up that wants to mess with those, I'm like, all right, well, gonna go ahead and take that off of my plate so I can keep these things here. So that's just my mentality with a lot of stuff. So that's what kind of keeps me chill, I guess you could say, you know.
You got to be cool in calm situations like that is what always leads to success. And
Yeah.
don't freak out. But let's talk about the trip one more time, because there's something interesting I have to ask. So you went to California. Did you go to In-N-Out Burger?
In-N-Out Burger. All right, let's
Here it comes.
let's talk about In-N-Out Burger. All right, you know this is why this always happens
Oh
every
no! Be
interview.
careful
It's
what you say
In-N-Out
here.
Burger. All right, listen. I'll say it. Here in Florida, we have Whataburger. All right, big in Texas, big in it's a good thing. I went and I had Whataburger. All right, Whataburger. I mean, In-N-Out Burger. It was tasty. I think the appeal is that it is very inexpensive, and they've done a good job of making the cult-like following. Food for food comparison, it's not that exceptional. However, when you take everything around it, like the environment, the culture, the affordability, it's something that it's noteworthy. I'll say it's noteworthy. The food by itself, not that exceptional. The way they get their stuff done, the processes, the menu, the food, the nostalgia, all that coming together, pretty exceptional. The food by itself is like, cool. That is what I'll say about Whataburger, all right? I mean, that's what I'll say about In-N-Out Burger. See, Whataburger's on my brain, though. Whataburger, I feel like, is that go-to. It always slaps. Like, it's always a good time. Man. But In-N-Out Burger, it was nice. It was nice, all right? I'll give it that. It was nice.
I'll let that slide because I'm a huge In-N-Out fan, and as a person who used to live in California last year, I tell you what, you're very right about the pricing, and for those who are in the West Coast here on Instagram that are watching are probably going to agree. It is probably the best affordable food that you can have surviving on the West Coast, because California's expensive. They tax you for everything. They tax you to breathe, basically. So you had the cross-country trip. You had In-N-Out Burger. So you had such a good time with everybody. But then you guys went to what you dubbed it the TikTok house. So tell us a little bit about that. So what was it like hanging out with all these different creators and everything? And what was your biggest highlight from being in the TikTok house?
So the TikTok house, do you mean the who do you remember who was there at that one? Because I went to one place. I stayed at one place that I called the TikTok house, but there was also another time earlier on during the year where I went to like a TikTok house as well. Which one were you specifically? Which one were you thinking of with that one too?
It's definitely going to be the first one you were thinking about. I know you were in a pool and you were shivering like this. You look like a child holding onto a teddy bear.
Okay. That's funny. That video is on my YouTube channel. I think that's the first one you see when you go to my YouTube channel or something like that. That was actually from back in, was that February maybe? Maybe not February. That was like in April or that was like in April. And that was here in Florida, actually. Mm-hmm. There were a couple different TikTokers from around the nation who had been like chilling out, staying safe, and so they came down to Florida whenever Busch Gardens was like just reopening, and so we hung out there, and that was actually really cool. Like, I've seen a lot of TikTok houses that are like the problem with TikTok houses is usually a lot of people who are just good at making content and are not necessarily good community members who get together and like want to share a space. Now, I don't know if any of you guys have siblings, but anybody out there on Instagram who's watching or like watching this later down the line who has siblings, you understand how hard it is to live with people you've known for the past, like your whole life if you have siblings. Living with people you don't know, who you've only known from the internet, can sometimes be a fantastic thing or a very difficult living situation. So it's always interesting. So I would say like the one from Florida that we did, we called it like Swamp House because we were there for the week. That was an extreme blessing because everybody there was older. Most of them had either siblings or were just very, very good community members wherever they had been. So they're like, oh, we wash the dishes after we do our stuff. Or like we do this. We're considerate and thoughtful of other people. And that was a really, really good time. Like someone planned, her name is actually Jackie E. Chan. She just hit 1 million followers on TikTok. She went through and planned the whole weekend out. Like it was a really, really good time. And we all had a lot of fun with that one. So it was good. Like I met people. We still talk today, and we're trying to get back together sometime in October, barring any kind of national or international global, like, as long as coronavirus is still going down, everybody stays quarantining, everything keeps getting better, then we're going to go ahead and take some measures to make sure everybody can stay safe. And about like 5 or 6 or 8 of us are going to get together at a house in Orlando and hang out, make some content for you guys.
That sounds amazing. So those who are watching it live on Instagram and later on YouTube, you heard it live from the man himself. Expect some amazing big things coming from God. Yes, he's going to make things happen. He's going to make things come. He's going to create. He's going to create some big things coming up. So now that you've done these cross-country trips, you've met a lot of content creators and a lot of TikTokers and all these amazing friends that you connected along the way. You know, it's not easy to make achievements like that, but something that really caught everybody's attention very recently, you got sponsored by Amazon. I know for you that was something really, really a big spectacle. So tell us what it was like to get that kind of endorsement.
So the endorsements are odd because, like, with my trajectory and the way I've been building, I am just kind of like a kid on the beach who's like trying to build the best sandcastle he can, you know? And I don't spend a whole lot of time, I guess, looking at other people's sandcastles in a way. Like somebody's like, yo, have you seen so-and-so on Instagram or so-and-so on TikTok? They called you out for X, Y, and Z. And as of recently, there's this dude, Evan Hayberg or Evan Berg, and we're trying to play Super Smash Bros. Against each other, so I saw that. But most of the beef, most of the competition, most of the like comparison I don't do a whole lot of that on TikTok. Like I'm just kind of focused on my sandcastle and I'm building. So when like a company like Amazon comes up to me and is like, hey, we like what you're doing. We want to endorse you. I'm like, why? Like, what did I do? Did I do something wrong? It's because I'm black, isn't it? It's because I'm, you know, and I'm like, what's the deal? I'm just doing what everybody else is doing, right? Like, I'm just building a sandcastle. We're all out here building sandcastles. Like, why are you bothering me? But so that was weird because I just assume everybody else is doing what I'm doing. So it's kind of weird for like a company like Amazon to come to me and be like, yo, we want what you got, you know? And I'm just like, whoa, okay, sure, I guess, you know? So it's cool. It's very, very cool. But that's not something that I ever really had. Like, that wasn't in the blueprints necessarily for me to like get sponsored by Amazon or anything like that. I was just kind of like, I'm working on my house here. And then Amazon's like, yeah, we want to put some money in that. And I'm like, you can if you want to. I'm just working on this thing here, you know? So, but it's really, really cool. And I'm hoping I can make it more of like a long-term partnership type of a thing and learning how to do that because it came out of the blue, quite frankly. But it's really, really cool.
And it goes to show, once again, the success that you're having, that people are noticing you, especially if someone like Amazon said, yo, we are loving Lonnie. And I think everybody in the chat, let's give some love to Lonnie right now. If you love Lonnie, give him a big heart because he's doing such an amazing job in everything that he's been doing right now. Look at that. You're getting a lot of hearts out on Instagram right now.
What's up, y'all?
And, you know, Lonnie, so for that future, you know, coming up, what are some big plans that you have going on? Because I know you released some merchandise recently. I myself actually have one of your stickers about seahorses are just little saxophones. I have it on my tablet.
Fantastic.
So tell us some about the merchandise you're going to be coming out with.
Hey, appreciate you guys' Instagram. I did release the first round of merch. Very fun story. I'll keep it brief. So in my head, I'm like, okay, I want to put out merch. I hate when merch is overpriced. Like, it's just too expensive. I don't want to deal with that. I would not. I try to make sure my merchandise is stuff, and it's merchandise, and it's priced at places that I would buy. Oh my gosh, look who just joined the chat. It's Hayberg. Speaking of trash talking, I was just telling you guys about on Smash Brothers. Somebody was giving me some heat because they thought they could beat me in Smash Bros. And he just dropped here in the chat. Everybody in the chat, make sure you guys say hey to him. But hey Evan. But the merchandise that I'm working on, I learned it was a big learning process because I'm like, let me make sure it's affordable and let me make sure it's something I would buy. And so I said, I'm going to handle the design and I'm going to handle the distribution. That way it can stay like affordable for you guys. And with that being in the middle of COVID, what happened was the manufacturer and the distributor, who's myself, hit these insanely long, like manufacturing times. So I put it out there. I said, hey guys, go ahead and pre-order. And now it's been like a month and the manufacturer is still making these stickers. And I had to email everybody and let them know, like, yo, I would love to put out more merch, more stickers, but I'm not putting out anything else until the people who already ordered get theirs. So it's taken a hot minute and it was a big learning process, but I'm super excited to be putting out some hoodies and some shirts later on this year whenever fall starts like cooling off a little bit, to make sure that everybody who wants merch from God and Gabe, Lonnie, IIV, whatever the case might be, they can get some. But I'm going to find much better ways to make sure you guys can get it in like a week or two instead of, a month or two, So it's been really cool. And stay tuned to my page, check my stories, and you'll be getting updates about that for sure.
So definitely, guys, if you're watching right now on Instagram, there is some new merch coming out soon enough. You heard it from God himself. We have some of that really, really cool merch. Like I said, I personally have it myself, and this is not just a sponsor because he's here with me, but it's actually really cool. It's a nice, giant, big sticker that I have right slapped on my iPad, and it looks awesome. Speaking of future stuff, what kind of future projects you got going, Lonnie? So tell us about what's happening next. What is
Sure.
next for God? What's his next creation that he's got coming up?
So, the God and Gabe stuff is cool. I love it. It's fun. It's simple. It's easy. Some more stuff I got coming on down the line that you guys get to hear here first. Also, Zach, what's good? Some more things I got coming up is a lot more collaborations, because during this whole journey, I've been filming videos in my kitchen by myself, and I'm a very social person, if you haven't realized. And so one of my favorite things to do is to interact and socialize and collaborate with other creators. So a lot more collaborations are going to be coming out of the pipeline, especially over these next 3 months up until the end of the year, because I want to just mix it up with other creators a whole lot more. Like, that's why I started doing this, in part was like a piece of the pie of like my why is the collaborations, the networking, the interactions, and the impact of so many other creators coming together to make things that are just really, really cool and fun. So it's really easy to get in your head and get in your own lane and focus on your own sandcastle. But one thing you can expect from me, even this week, and it might drop today. Let me know in the chat if you want to see a collaboration. I got a collab with with Ben Brainerd, who's also known as Florida Man, that I might put out today. I might save it for Wednesday. If you guys want to see it, let me know in the chat, and I will do that. I'll drop it today at 5 p.m. But like weekly collaborations with other great creators who just like have a cool vibe, and a good solid impact and message are what you're going to be seeing a lot more. And that might be in God and Gabe. That might be like from a variety of different types of skits and stuff like that. But I'm always trying to collaborate and mix it up with other creators because it's just fun. It's just a lot more fun, in my personal opinion. You learn a lot more. So keep your eye out for collaborations, and don't be afraid to tag some of your favorite artists if I don't know about them. They don't even have to be on TikTok. We can find ways to cross over, just like this interview here. Like, it's a good collaboration with somebody who's great and has helped me out along a lot along the way. So more of this kind of stuff for sure.
So guys, you've heard it from the man himself. A lot of new collaborations coming out, whether it be TikTok or not, or what they want to, I guess you can say, cross-platforming. You can definitely see that he's got new merch coming out. So Lonnie, if they want to find you, where can they go to find you?
Oh, for sure. And hey, again, everybody in the Instagram chat, if you guys want to find me, a lot of people have questions about this. It's Lonnie IIV, and you can find me on any platform. I also say any platform. I'm not on Ko-fi or Coffee, whatever it's called. But you can find me on Instagram. You can find me on Facebook. You can find me on Twitter. You can find me on TikTok. You can find me on YouTube. All under Lonnie IIV. LONNIE IIV, spelled the same on every platform. So very glad I got that done before any of my stuff started taking off. But yeah, and Lonnie IIV, funny story, IIV is supposed to be the third because I'm the Lonnie the third. But Lonnie the third was taken on a lot of places, so I had to do bad Roman math and do IIV, which is technically still 3. So yeah, that's what that's all about.
Yeah. So before we wrap up and start taking some fan questions on Instagram, one thing you've always been about is about inspiration. You are a person that loves to do track and do sports, and it kind of runs through the family anyway, so you kind of have that torch to pass on. But one thing that you always mentioned that of always going that extra mile. So what are some words of inspiration that you use during track to tell people right now on Instagram or later on YouTube or any other platform to say, hey, you can do it? What are your words of inspiration?
I'd have to say my biggest inspiration is whether you think you can or you can't, you're right. And that just means that if you, like, how you talk to yourself is extremely important. If you're saying, oh my God, I can't do this, I can't do this, I can't do this, just, it might not seem big, but if you're just saying that you can't do it, whether it's in your head or out loud, is going to immediately negatively impact your belief in whether or not you can get it done. And something I have to do, I don't know if you guys can kind of see, I got like these notepads and stuff around my room. These are all reminders of things that like I can do, you know? Because in this creative journey, I hit these ruts where I'm like, oh my God, I'm not funny. I don't have it. I had it. I don't have it anymore. Like, but then when I hear myself saying that, I'm like, okay, no. What is the best possible outcome? Let's focus on that and let's talk about it. And let's talk to myself about how it's going to happen and when it's going to happen. And then when I hear those negative thoughts start coming, just even in my head, just little by little, like start changing the way you think about yourself. Like, one thing I heard that is just a little side tangent. It was like, would you hang out with somebody who talks about you or talks to you the way you talk to yourself? You know? And I'm like, oof, that's a good question. I want to be around people who make me feel good and make me feel like I can do anything. So I need to talk to myself like that, you know? So I have to say, whether you think you can, you can't, you're right. And think and talk to yourself like someone you love and care about and want the world for. So, there you go.
Absolutely beautiful words of inspiration. So thank you, Lonnie, for that. And now we're going to start hopping into our lovely Instagram questions. So those on Instagram, if you have some questions for Lonnie or just questions possibly for myself, even though I'm not as popular as Lonnie, but if you have questions about voice actor or anything like that, I may be able to address them as well. But first, real quick, also, again, Lonnie, thank you so much for copping by for this interview.
Yeah.
And, you can make sure you follow him on all his Instagram, follow him on Twitter, follow him on TikTok, everywhere. He deserves all the love and praise. But let's get straight to the questions, and then we'll wrap up. So let's see what we got. So
Jay the Weeb had asked this a minute ago, so I'm going to go ahead and hit his question. He said, how did you get noticed? Oh, also, great question, Jay. How did you get noticed? I feel the hardest thing for a voice actor or aspiring script writer is getting noticed. How did you do it? For me, I had the same issue. I think you always need to be working on your craft. Like, always stay, like, practicing. I put out a video every day, 5 days a week, and that's one of those ways I, like, hone in and get to hear the audience. Like, what did they really like? What did they not like? Found out you guys like it when I say Gabriel. So that's what I do. Because it's that thing of just doing it a lot. But I have to say, if you're trying to get noticed, do as much as you can, as often as you can, that you can maintain your sanity for. ProZD, I don't know if you guys heard of him. He's a dude with a deep voice. He's another voice actor. He inspired me to put out content every day because he did this thing where he did a script every single day on, I think, Tumblr. And he was just practicing his different voices. And he did it every single day for, like, I think a year, maybe 2 years. And if you're just getting started, that's one of the things I recommend. Do something every day so that way people can see it. And just keep on putting it out there, because one of the ways, if you don't have the quality yet, you can at least have the quantity. Like, McDonald's is quality, kind of, depending on who you ask, but also they have immense quantity. Like, no matter where you go, you can see those golden arches somewhere. So that's a kind of a technique I would recommend for people who are just trying to get started and get noticed. Flood the place with whatever time you have. Make sure it's all over. And then as you do that, learn how to do it better and better, you know? It's hard for some of the bigger creators to keep up with people who are just pumping out content maybe 2-3 times a day or even once a day. And I see some agrees. I see lemon.na agreeing in the chat. Like, that is one of my biggest recommendations. If you want to get noticed, post on Twitter every day. Do something, even if it's just you practicing, put it out there every single day. Is my opinion, my suggestion. That's what I still am doing, honestly. Trying to do stuff every single day.
So a question comes in from Beckett_Tabor. Why did you choose to be a voice actor?
So I chose to be a voice actor because, well, for one, my acting skills, like live in person, aren't as great as my acting skills with just my voice. So I decided, all right, well, while I work on like live acting in person, everything like that, I at least know I can control my voice. And so that's what I decided to keep practicing, keep doing. And also, you can do voice acting kind of from anywhere. And I love traveling. So it fit really, really nicely. Like, I can just pick up my microphone, bring it with me if I travel to Colorado and record in the car. I don't have to be like, oh, you got to stay in Florida and go to this casting call or something like that. I can just literally take care of it anywhere in the world. And also, I think I saw also Evan Thornburg asked a good question here too. It said, did you do anything special? If I can hit on this one, I'd love to. Did you do anything special, like advertise your content on other accounts other than working with others like Ben and Jennings? So really quickly, I always recommend collaborating with others. That's another great way to get your content out there. people who are around your size or people who you just really vibe with their content, bring something to the table. If you're going to collaborate with someone bigger, say, hey, here's a script that fits right in line with what you do. It's not going to take up a lot of your time, and it's going to really, really add value to you and your audience, and that's one thing I'd recommend you can do. I did not personally pay to advertise on any other platforms. I've heard that people did that. I heard King Batch did that, actually. Like, he ran a couple meme pages when he blew up. And I'm like, it's a smart move if you have the resources for it. Actually, I did a little bit of advertising on Facebook for like $5 or $10. I promoted my page just to see how it would work. But no, I haven't done a lot of paid promotions. I have sent my videos to meme pages, and it's been reposted before. But a lot of times, if they're gonna repost your content, they want you to pay for it. So that's how that's gone so far.
So another question comes in. I'm gonna, and hopefully you and I can tag team this question because it pertains to kind of both of us. So, yarn underscore loving yarn underscore girl says, what's the hardest part of being a voice actor? I'm gonna tag this one first, real quick. I would definitely say the hardest part about being a voice actor is the fact that it's voice acting. So a lot of people kind of think that you just walk into a booth, say a bunch of silly voices, and then you leave. But there's a lot of it that comes into it. You got to really prepare yourself for the character, and a lot of it's cold reading too. So you don't have a whole lot of time to really prepare for whatever the character is going to be. It's always important to constantly, like what Lonnie's doing, is branding yourself, making yourself stand out, constantly practicing your craft, knowing what you're doing, knowing certain words, especially if you're doing ADR for anime or video games. All those kind of things are super, super crucial that people kind of overlook. And they always tend to think, well, okay, you can just walk in and then there you go. It's really not the case. And you really have to give a really, really good performance, especially if you're doing AAA video games, which is something I may potentially be doing coming up pretty soon. One of those kind of things that we're looking for is someone that has that experience, that is able to do long sessions of not blowing out their voice, knowing how to do it, and always, always, always having that confidence and not freezing up. Now, one thing I would say that's a quick tip for those who are still learning, and this is a tip for Lonnie as well, always keep in mind the voice director is your best friend, not your enemy. I know a lot of times people get intimidated when they hear that, oh yeah, the voice director is going to be there. Don't be intimidated. They're there to help you so they can guide you of how to do the character's voice. So, for example, let's say if Lonnie was given a character that is supposed to be higher pitched, but his range is a little bit lower, they're going to help him guide him to sound that little bit higher pitched voice. So if he sounds really low, kind of like, I'm all the way down here and I'm God. And they're like, no, we want God to be a little bit more silly, more flamboyant, a little bit higher. They're like, oh, hey guys, I'm God. How's it going, everybody? So that they're kind of direct. You see how that little bits of direction will kind of make you change it. So the hardest part about voice acting is knowing how to take those directions, feed it, and make it come to life. So I'm going to pass it on to you, Lonnie.
Yeah, I think the hardest part of voice acting can certainly be, it can be taking direction. And I think one of the things I've learned recently is whenever it comes to voice acting, you want to kind of come prepared with some options for people, for the director too. Like it's voice acting, any kind of acting. If any of you guys out there are interested in it, you just kind of want to know, like, you want to kind of have, like, they'll be like, okay, give me an ABC of a line or something like that. And that basically means we want to hear it one way, another way, and a third way. It's like, how am I supposed to come up with 3 different ways to read like a single line? There are things like pacing, like you go really, really slowly when you read this line. Sometimes it's like, okay, what kind of emotion? Like, you go really, really slowly when you read this line. Or it's like, you go really, really slowly when you read this line. And like, that's 3 takes. And kind of knowing that helps you be a lot more prepared for anything they want you to do, And then there's other pieces like getting out of your shell and going all out, which can take some time to get comfortable with, because sometimes you're like, you got to get angry. And it's like, what makes me really angry in life? And you got to really go to this place where you're angry to read the line. And then you got to back out and realize, oh, I'm around my friends. It's okay. Everybody's okay, So just little things you learn like that.
Absolutely. So those are some really good tips for those who are wondering about the voice acting stuff. But we're going to take a question from Stylish Pineapple Axe. Ever thought about doing comedy?
Have I ever thought about doing comedy? I'll assume you mean stand-up, unless you're implying that none of my videos that I post aren't very funny, which I agree. I could understand. No, but in terms of the stand-up, I think it is something that's extremely terrifying, because what if you suck, Like, what if you're not as funny as you think? And when I find stuff like that, I usually gravitate towards it, because I'm like, well, I could learn, And I think the same goes for everybody here. Like, you might not feel very funny, but, like, listen to the feedback, see if you got an opportunity in it, and then go for it. If it's not something you want to do, then don't do it. But if there's something you're like, oh, man, wouldn't it be cool to be in that space, like doing stand-up comedy? Like Ben Brainerd is heckling me right now. He's like, you need to go do it. Just start doing stand-up. I'm like, I don't have jokes. I'm not that funny. And he's like, just do it and try it. And I'm like, okay, fine. I will give it a try. So sometime soon, probably either later this year or next year, I'm either going to start doing some improv games or start doing some stand-up sets. So I am high-key considering it.
And just before we get back to the questions, I'm going to say yes, I think you should absolutely do it because you're funny and you have a great presence. So yes. As a person that's seen Lonnie do panels at conventions, you definitely hold a really good audience presence. So you have that aura once again. So you have that little bit of the X factor. So I can definitely see you succeeding in that stand-up comedy portion.
Appreciate it.
So let's see what other questions. So other questions goes. What are some best impressions you guys can do? I have quite a few, but there's one I'm going to request from Lonnie. Lonnie, can we hear you do your Pinocchio from Shrek impression just because it's so great? I love it.
You always be on the spot with these impressions. All right, so you guys have probably seen, some of you guys have seen Shrek, and you guys remember Pinocchio. Like, my favorite line from him is like, I'm wearing women's underwear. Like whenever he was hanging upside down or whatever, hanging like trying to get him to lie so he can grow his nose and climb out of the pit or whatever. That line just always makes me laugh. He was just hanging there, it's like, I'm wearing women's underwear. So there's my Pinocchio impression. Really weird. The weird thing about impressions too is you're supposed to be able to do like a whole paragraph as a character, when I can only really do lines. So I'm working on that. But go ahead, Cross. Which one you can do?
Oh boy. For those who like anime, there's two that I usually do, and a lot in the Persona fandom. So for those who are currently playing Persona 4, is Yuna Arkami, because a lot of times a lot of people say my voice sounds like Johnny Young Bosch. So I kind of do like Nanako. It's Yuna Arkami. Persona! Like kind of like that. Or I do like Kuwabara from Yu Yu Hakusho, which is one of my favorite ones to do, which is a funny story. I figured out how to do that voice. Actually, when I was sick, I remember I was going to go play hockey, and I had like my nose was really like dried up and really like hoarse. And I was like, I started talking, I was like, wow, I sound like Kuwabara. So I was like, hey, what's up, guys? Lonnie, where's that Urameshi guy? I'm going to beat his butt when I find him. Kind of like that.
Yeah, that's pretty great.
Yeah, I actually think I have a video of that somewhere. If I unearth it, I'll find it. I'll send it to you, Lonnie. But yeah, it was so funny because I was sick and I told my friend I was just watching Yu Hakusho. I was like, oh my god, I sound like Kuwabara.
That show is fantastic. I used to watch it on Toonami when I was little, but it was always out of order. So I was always like, I have no idea who these characters are, but it's really fun. And that guy can shoot light from his fingers. So that's about it. I mean, I've tried to start watching it again since like quarantine started, but I've been really slow on TV because I've been like trying to put out new videos. Also, I saw somebody in the chat ask when new videos are coming out. New videos drop basically every day on Reels or Monday through Friday. At like 5 p.m. Check on my page. It's usually
awesome. So we're going to go ahead and wrap up the interview here. Lonnie, thank you so much for coming to stop by. Thank you to everybody on Instagram that is watching. Thank you everyone that will be watching later on YouTube. Lonnie, you're such a great guy. Thank you again. It's always been a pleasure being friends with you. We're going to plug in one last thing if you want to. I know you recently, if you want to talk about it, you have, I believe, a Discord server. I don't know if you want to announce that or if not. Sure. Totally up to you.
Yeah, there is a Discord server. We're still getting up and running. We're running through a lot of testing, getting the mods together and everything still. We're testing out game nights and stuff like that. It's moving. It's doing a pretty good job, and I'm really excited about it. If you want to join the Discord server, you're more than welcome to. We're hosting like game nights each week. I hop on there and hang out. I do my live voice recordings in the Discord server for my patrons, different crazy stuff like that. But if you want to join the Discord server, you can find the link in my bio if you're watching this on Instagram, I guess. Or I think even on YouTube, you can find the link in my bio or like my link tree, my solo.to/LonnieIIV. You can find the links to all of my social media platforms. Find it there, and you can join my Discord server. Make sure you drop by, say hi. I'll tell you here, you guys can at me if you want, and I'll make sure to say hi to you. I don't tell people they can at me often because there's like 300 people in there, and if they all added me, my Discord would be blowing up. So, but you guys can seriously come through, hang out, say hi. If you ever wanted to have a conversation with me, seriously, just come through, say hi, leave a message, and we can chat. So,
of course.
And also, Nick, thank you so much for having me here. I appreciate it. Thank you so much for the interview. This has been fantastic.